Another beautiful Wednesday morning it is. Thank you so much everyone for joining us for the midweek edition of AM Today. I am Sunday Kolawole, and of course we'll be starting with a check on stories making headlines in the national dailies. This morning concentration would be on okay, let me start with the Punch newspaper this morning. Lady the Park and the Punch newspaper is this political story. 2027 APC kicks as PDP backs call for Jonathan's return. Let's take some paragraphs from that story. The opposition, People's Democratic Party, PDP, has thrown its weight behind the call for former President Goodluck Jonathan to join the presidential race for 2027. In the past few weeks, there has been a growing rumor that northern elites and politicians are not happy with President Bola Tinubu's administration and subtly yearning for a change of government in the next election. 4 days ago, Bauchi governor that's talking about Senator Bala Mohammed also lent his voice to the agitation, vowing to jettison his presidential ambition if Jonathan agrees to contest. Mohammed gave his blessing at an event organized by a non-government organization, Save Africa Initiative, in Abuja. According to him, the former president has the requisite experience to revamp the economy and would do a good job if given a second mandate to manage the country. Find details in the Punch newspaper of this morning. And of course, still staying with the Punch newspaper, let's say this story. This one reads, terrorism financing, NLC mobilizes nationwide strike over Gyro's invitation. Okay, following the ongoing face-off between it and Nigeria Police, the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC has asked its members to be ready to commence a nationwide strike if need be by midnight of Tuesday. The Labour Center said in a communique issued after its emergency National Executive Council in Abuja, saying that it had directed all the state chapters and affiliates to mobilize workers for an indefinite strike from midnight if anything happened to the NLC President Joe Gyro, who was invited by the police for questioning over terrorism financing allegation. The police invitation to Gyro comes weeks after policemen conducted a night raid on the NLC National Secretariat in Abuja. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, while justifying the raid, said the police were on the trail of one of the terrorists who masterminded the crisis in Sudan. Well, details you find in the Punch newspaper. Let me welcome Falasha Deogidon. Good morning. Nice to have you on the program.
Good morning, Sunday. Nice to have you too. Well, let's check the Daily Trust for this morning for the headlines. On the Daily Trust this morning, we have this one. ECOWAS rejects Niger Junta's 3-year transition plan. Right, this is the story. Pro-coup protesters.
That's talking about the Niger.
Yes, the Niger junta, the military took over that. Well, pro-coup protesters won ECOWAS against military action. Pope calls for peace in Niger Republic. You find details of that story. You find details of that on page 4 of the Daily Trust this morning. Still on the Daily Trust is this one. Tinubu reassigns portfolios, appoints Niger Delta minister. Details of that is also on page 4 of the Daily Trust for this morning. And this one, Benin, Niger, Togo, pour Nigeria 132.2 billion naira energy bills in 4 years. Right, you find details of that on page 12 of the Daily Trust this morning. Bandits kill 5 men, kidnap women, rustle animals in Katsina. Sad one, that's talking about the state of the insecurity in the nation. Find details of that on page 6 of the Daily Trust this morning. Still on the Daily Trust?
All right, I think we should move on and check some more stories from the Punch newspaper. And in the Punch newspaper, you still have some stories here. Let's check these. NNPC reports 9.3 trillion naira petrol imports as queues linger. That the sad tale about the ongoing fuel scarcity in Nigeria. Long queue on College Road, Ogba, and Lagos by the Expressway in Lagos State on Tuesday. find the picture right on the front page of the Punch newspaper. And of course, the story, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has confirmed that the federal government incurred a debt of 5.1 trillion naira in under-recovery and energy security expenses for fuel importation in 2023. It also stated that a total sum of 9.38 trillion naira described as receivables was incurred on behalf of the federal government in 2023 for fuel imports. In its financial statement for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2023, the national oil firm explained that 6.25 trillion naira was accrued under domestic crude oil supply and 3.14 trillion naira under other receivables. Receivables, also regarded as accounts receivable, are debt owed to a firm by its customers for goods and services used or delivered but not yet paid for. You find details of that story in the Punch newspaper of this morning. And of course, still taking stories therefrom, let's check these efforts by the federal government to check or enforce rather the implementation of the local government autonomy. Akume Edo lead 10-man local government autonomy implementation panel. The federal government has inaugurated a 10-man interministerial committee to enforce the Supreme Court judgment on local government autonomy. The Supreme Court had on July the 11th granted local governments across the country autonomy. An apex court 7-man panel in the judgment delivered by Justice Emmanuel Agim declared that the 774 local government councils in the country should manage their funds themselves. In a statement on Tuesday, the Director of Information and Public Relations, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Shegun Imohiosen, said the federal government had set up a committee for the implementation of the judgment. You find details of the names of people in that committee, 10 of them in the Punch newspaper of this morning. Let's quickly take a break. When we return, we'll continue with a check on stories making headlines in international dailies this morning. We'll be right back, everyone.
Let me assure you, our mothers, that our administration is not relenting in its efforts at making life better for our people in the state. We shall continue to pursue programs and policies to relieve parents of the burden of parenthood towards our children. This year, the state government had paid West African Examination Council fees for our children in public secondary schools. We have plans for bursary and scholarships, the details of which are being worked out. The state government has set up Agriculture and Food Security Committee that is doing a good job. Our commitment to ensuring that no family goes to bed hungry in Ondo State is total.
more stories from the national dailies this morning. The Punch newspaper, still our guide from this end. The story reads, police burst kidnappers den, rescue victim in Anambra. The Anambra Police Command has busted a kidnappers den located in Umuduru in Ihiala local government area of the state. The command said its combined team of police, military and vigilance carried out the operation, and during which a kidnapped victim was rescued unhurt. This was disclosed in a statement by the command spokesperson, Tochukwu Ikenga, on Tuesday. Ikenga added that the feat was achieved following the arrest of a suspect whose name was withheld a few weeks ago and his confession of being a member of a criminal notorious gang of kidnappers terrorizing the state, especially in Ihiala. The statement says in an ongoing operation in Ihiala, a combined team of police, military and AVG operatives busted a criminal den in Umuduru, Ihiala, and rescued a kidnapped victim unhurt. Details you find in the Punch newspaper of this morning. All right, let's check these from the Nigerian Tribune. Fraudster faces 20-year jail for stealing $10 million U.S. unemployment fund. A Nigerian man from Lagos, identified as Iyomi Olaleye, faces the possibility of a 20-year prison sentence in the United States after being arrested for allegedly stealing $10 million from COVID-19 employment relief funds. Punch Metro learned that the suspect was arrested at the John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York City on August 13, 2024, on charges of conspiring to obtain the funds. The acting U.S. Attorney Joshua Levy, along with Special Agent in charge Andrew Murphy of the U.S. Secret Service Boston Field Office, Special Agent in charge Jonathan Malone of the Department of Labor's Office of the Inspector General, and Special Agent in charge Jody Cohen of the FBI's Boston Division disclosed this on Monday via the official website of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Massachusetts under the Department of Justice. The arrest is part of the ongoing U.S. efforts to combat and prevent pandemic-related fraud. The Attorney General previously established the COVID-19 Fraud Enforcement Task Force to achieve this objective. The details is actually in the Punch newspaper of this morning. The Punch newspaper reported that story. And this one reads, suspects linked to murder of Kwara female student in custody. Of course, that's one of the success stories of the fight against crime in Nigeria. The Kwara State Police Command says it has arrested some suspects in connection with the murder of a female student of the State College of Health, Mojisola Awesu, who was found dead in a refuse dump in the Aleniboro area of Ilorin, the state capital. The command's public relations officer, Tom Ejiri Adeyemi, discloses in a telephone conversation with the Nigerian Tribune. It was reported on Tuesday that 21-year-old Awesu was found dead after being allegedly contracted by a friend to act as a girlfriend for another private varsity student at a party for the sum of 15,000 naira. The PPRO had noted that a resident of the community had reported on August the 12th that a dead body was found by some laborers at a refuse dump in the area, which prompted the police operatives to visit the scene and recover the body, which was identified as Awesu, before depositing it at a morgue. Sad story. Well, I think we should be careful about company, and then we should be mindful what we're getting ourselves into. Everything isn't money. Now, just for 15,000 naira, this tragedy has befallen the family of that young girl. I think it's a sad narrative. Kudos to the police that's already on that case, and you see how it lands eventually. Let me go back to the Punch newspaper. In the Punch newspaper, houses built by illegal developers risk demolition, says Anambra. Okay, Anambra is saying something there. Let's check details. Houses built by quacks, non-certified developers, or fake development control agents across Anambra State risk demolition due to incessant building collapses in the state, suspected to be because of poor handling by building agents. The chairman and managing director, Anambra State Fiscal Planning Board, Chike Madueke, gave the indication on Tuesday during an inspection carried out with his team at Abatete Uke and the Umoji communities in the Idemili North local government area. Madueke also warned those who parade themselves in the state as members of Registered Engineering Council of Nigeria, moving around collecting huge amounts of money from houses marked as illegal structure for demolition to deceased from such acts. It was gathered that over 20 buildings, including residential, commercial, school buildings, collapsed and over 25 deaths recorded in the state, with several others injured and maimed in the last 7 months. You find details in the Punch newspaper. Of course, in efforts at checking building collapse and also waging war against quackery in the beauty industry is what you're finding at the center stage in Anambra State. Of course, it must really be commended that someone is doing something to check the spate of quackery in that arena. Let's check some more stories. From the Punch newspaper, you find this story: widower paralyzed after police brutality in Lagos. Widower paralyzed after police brutality in Lagos. A commercial bus driver, Adewale Oseni, is seeking justice after he was allegedly brutalized by a police officer identified simply as Supol Hakim, attached to Makinde Police Station in Oshodi, Lagos. It was gathered that he was returning from the food vendor where he had gone to purchase food for his 3 children on July the 14th at about 10 p.m. when the police officer accosted him. He said efforts to show him the food he bought and also appeal to him were ignored by the police officer, also said to be identified as Spider. The widower, whose wife passed away 3 months ago, claimed that Hakim soon hit him with an iron baseball batting on the spot. The bullseye drove, that's a quotation by the widower. The bullseye drove had a mechanical fault at Yano Isolo, so I got a mechanic to fix it. Well, it's recounting the ordeal there. Find details, of course, in the Punch newspaper of this morning.
Alright, from still in the Punch, but this time we're looking at Punch Sports Extra. On the Punch Sports Extra this morning we have this one. I think Osime should come and ask someone like me what indiscipline has cost me in football. We're saying that by ex-Nigeria international, the team SN, weighs in on Napoli stars' lingering transfer. You want to know more on that story? Check the front page of the Punch Sports Extra this morning. And still on the Punch Extra, you have this one. No domestic violence charges against Anthony. And you have this one, Baka considers Leo bid. Joshua Best have faced, says Parker. These and more other stories you find on the Punch Sports Extra this morning, and that will be it.
Of course, with our sports, of course, the issue of sporting sometimes really gets one to be amused. Of course, talking about discipline there and the lesson that we could learn from the experience of someone, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's one thing to be talented, it's another thing to be deficient in character. And that's why in high institutions of learning, before you are deemed to be a graduate indeed, it said that having found worthy in character and in learning. And I think it's instructive that the learning didn't come first. It's in character and in learning. And so it's very important, no matter what you become, no matter what you're aspiring to become, take care of your character. That's why the Yorubas will say that yes, talents could take you to the peak, but discipline will sustain you back. I think that's it. That's the summary of it. Let's take a break. When we return, we'll be going into the ivory tower and looking at issues having to do with criteria for admission into institutions. How does age consideration affect the intellectual capacity of a student? What exactly is going on in private universities? How well are they when it comes to the issue of upholding the standard of education in Nigeria? That will be our focus when we return from this short break.
let me assure you, our mothers, that our administration is not relenting in its efforts at making life better for our people in the state. We shall continue to pursue programs and policies to relieve parents of the burden of parenthood towards our children. This year, the state government had paid West African Examination Council fees for our children in public secondary schools. We have plans for bursary and scholarships, the details of which are being worked out. The state government has set up Agriculture and Food Security Committee that is doing a good job. Our commitment to ensuring that no family goes to bed hungry in Ondo State is total.
Yes, I am in charge here today, but you are running a constitutional democracy. I will appeal to you to summon the governors, summon them, call them up. I'm doing my best to improve the revenue of the country and giving them their due. But they must equally be sympathetic to the populace, and they must consider the need of the local people. People are in the local community. That is where they reside. That is where they feed. That is where they garden. That is where they cook. That's where they farm. If the local government are not free, and the leaders don't hang on to the number. We have 774 local government. It's just a number. Is it effective? Is it reaching the real people? Who is being held accountable for this money? Maybe we should look and recalibrate. One version that was good 4 years ago might not be good today. And when we won the votes, we go to the locals. When we get the votes, we move to Abuja. I think we have to collectively join hands. I need for you to get us a committee of people that can really embark on the campaign for our value to change.
Welcome back, everyone. Government policy on admission age and matters rising will be the focus of our conversation at this point. We've been joined by a veteran broadcaster, a veteran journalist. Broadcasting is always an high blood, don't mind me. A veteran journalist, PR executive, university administrator, indeed registrar of Elizabeth University in Laramore. I'm talking about Mr. Molulu Adeguero. Good morning. Thank you for coming on AM today. It's good to see you again, Mr. Adeguero.
Good morning. To thank you for having me this morning.
Well, straight to business. The federal government is talking about age consideration for admission into universities, and to some extent, you find private universities as if they're in a world of their own. They could admit a 12-year-old if they are their way, a 13-year-old if they are their way. How well do you think this is sitting actually in terms of promoting quality education in Nigeria? Elizabeth, the university that you represent, isn't it guilty of this underage admission?
Well, thank you very much. But let me correct the notion that private universities are in the world of their own. We are not in the world of our own. We are regulated by the National Universities Commission. That is the body that regulates all universities in Nigeria, be it federal, state, or private. And so we are part of a larger university system market, if you permit me to put it that way. And so we operate within the norms, within the rules and regulations set by the National Universities Commission, as well as the Federal Ministry of Education. The issue of age limit, which has become a serious one now, that came up at the policy meeting recently organized by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, which held in Abuja, where there was this argument that the age limit for university education should be 18. In other words, if you are not 18 at least, no university should consider you for admission. But it was argued at that meeting that, no, 18 will be too much for this case. Why don't you bring it down to 16? And so the stakeholders agreed that for now, they should put the age limit at 16. And we at Elizabeth University have keyed into that. We are not going to admit anybody who is below 16 because we are not known for flouting government directives.
I think we should get that quite emphatic. Yeah. Are you saying that no matter how much I'm bringing on board, if I'm not 16, you will not admit me?
I will not admit you. Let me also say this. You see, there is what you call the CAPS, Central Admission Processing System, which is on the JAMB portal. Now, for every candidate that is admitted, his or her details must be uploaded on CAPS. Otherwise, you'll be accused of engaging in illegal admission. So that is sacrosanct, so to speak. So we are not going to compromise on that. It's a standard that has been set by the National Universities Commission, and the Federal Ministry of Education has approved of it, and we are not going to deviate from that. Look, if you are the richest man in the world and you bring your son to this university and it's below 16, we won't admit. I mean, that's the policy.
All right, so talking about the admission process into private universities especially, there are instances where we've read in the papers where students are admitted to certain courses that were not certified by NUC for the institution. What is your institution is not guilty of that?
No, not at all. Let me say it's a criminal offense for a university to even do that. There's what you call accreditation in the universities. First, you have resource verification when you want to mount a new program. The NUC officials will come, look at your resources, the library holdings, look at your staffing, look at your physical facilities, and it's on the basis of that they either approve that you can commence that program or they disapprove. Now, if they give approval and you commence, after 3 years, they will come back, this time for what is called accreditation, no longer resource verification. The first one usually will be resource verification, but when they come, the third year is for accreditation. But when they come to third year, that is for a 4-year degree program. For a 5-year degree program, they could come the 4th year or so. But normally, it's usually the 3rd year that they come. Now, when they come and they have assessed all you have in the university, I've mentioned about 3 parameters now that they looked out I mentioned three, but the fourth one is the curriculum. You want to look at your curriculum. How robust is your curriculum? Is it in tandem with the NUC benchmark, what they now call CC Mass? It has changed from B Mass to CC Mass now. I mean, that is the new creation. Now, if you have not done well and they deny you accreditation, the implication of that is that you cannot admit new students into that program anymore. But those who are there will be allowed to graduate. So now that is denial. Now there is another one you call interim accreditation. They come, oh, well, you are not doing well in certain areas. Okay, you have done in maybe one or two other areas. We are giving you interim. Interim means they will come back after 2 years. Now, during the interim accreditation status, you are then given a specific number of students to admit. For example, if your carrying capacity had been 100, they may say, because you have interim now, you cannot admit more than 25 students. Okay. If you admit one over and above 25, you are already committing a crime against the AUC. Now, the third one is what you call full accreditation. When they come and they see that, oh, all your programs are doing well, all the 4 parameters have been met and so on, you have done well, they give you full accreditation. Full accreditation lasts for 5 years. They will come back after 5 years. It's not that once you have full accreditation, it's going to be like that forever. They will come after 5 years. All of this is pointing to one fact, which is quality assurance. I always tell people, but for NUC, every garage in Nigeria will have become a university. And that is why you have so many illegal universities around Nigeria. As we speak today in Nigeria, there are 274 recognized universities, approved universities. And I'll do the breakdown. For federal universities, you have 62. For state, you have 63. And for private, you have 149, making the total of 274. You see, the private university system is a new development in Nigeria, so to speak. We had the first set of private universities in Nigeria in 1999. Babcock, Madonna, and the Benedon. And between 1999 and 2024, the number has risen to 149, with 2 approved this year. 2 are approved this year. That is what has brought the number to 274. So, now coming back to your question, if you have had denied accreditation and you admit fresh students to that program, you are just jeopardizing the future of those students. And it would be a crime on the part of any university authority to condone that. So it's something that is not allowed. It's unlawful, it's illegal, it's criminal.
Let's come back to the issue of this requirement for admission in Nigerian universities. In your heart of hearts, let's meet minds. Don't you think that even the 16-year-old, the 16-year age limit for admission could also mean somehow maybe detrimental to development of the education sector, when in certain claims you find 13, 14-year-old already doing exploits in science and technology and all of that? Do you think it's reasonable to peg admission age limit to 16? How about 14? Or do you think the development of the mind wouldn't have really been formed at 13, at 14, at 15, or thereabout?
You just answered the question yourself.
I'm just asking.
It's not a question of pupils being rushed.
Okay.
And at 13, they have reason why they are out. Don't forget, many of them attend boarding schools where their lives are regulated. They are woken up in the morning, they are made to observe siesta, they go to prep, but those things are not available in the university system. So when you now have a 14-year-old in the university system, and who is seeing freedom for the first time, nobody wakes him up. Nobody tells him to go to the library. Nobody tells him to go to the cafeteria. Nobody tells him to go for lectures. Now, whether you like it or not, yes, that person is brilliant, but the formation is not there. The maturity is not there.
Independent mindset
is not there. And that is why they fall easy prey to what do they call that, peer influence, and they are easily influenced because they don't have a mind of their own. You see, in the past, it's only in this part of the world that we have what we call policy somersault. I remember in the past, people will always be encouraged to go and do HSC, A level. After your school starts, you go there for 2 years, you are matured before you go to the university. I mean, of course, you are already formed as a person. You are already formed as a person. Now, you can think independently. But today, when you now have 40-year-old, 15-year-old in the university, they don't even know what they are. Some of them don't know what that they are from.
Mr. Digbero, I'm sorry to match your tongue, but interestingly, you're also a Yoruba man. Yeah. So, permit me to just borrow this Yoruba saying. Isn't it a question of the fact that we're getting it wrong at the elementary stage? You find parents saying that from primary 4 you start writing comment engines.
Yes.
From JSS2 you jump to SS1, and by SS2 you're writing YEC, and then they feel that that's the end of life. Isn't it a big problem on our hands? Instead of us saying we're cutting the tree from the top.
Absolutely. Let me tell you, it has even gone to a situation now that what they call, like, is it KG, pre-nursery? They now have body system for them. A 2-year-old child is sent to boarding school. For God's sake, what is he looking for? This is the stage they should be under their parental care. But they are now giving to some other parents, foster parents, to look after. These so-called foster parents have their own kids to look after at home. So I agree with you absolutely that everything is like the foundation is being destroyed. And the Bible says, when the foundation is destroyed, what can the righteous do? I mean, so
there are two sides to a coin. There's two sides to a coin, and just like the talking drum, two sides, the well-beaten side and the other one that's still fresh.
Yes.
Now we're talking about the foundational problem. Now, if you're saying even at 16, I will use your university as the case now. So, if, for instance, you've admitted a student, maybe 16 or 17, and you discover the independent mindset is not formed, the mentality, the freedom management mentality is not formed, what do you do?
Well, I can tell you straight away that we have a very versatile and viable student affairs division, as well as a counseling unit in the university, where issues having to do with how students behave are looked into. As a matter of fact, in our halls of residence, I mean where the students live, the student affairs officers have their offices within those halls of residence to monitor what the students do. And there is this freedom for them to come up when they have issues. In fact, all of them have access to the registrar. I mean, they send me WhatsApp messages, they call me, and once they have any problem, we try to resolve those problems until some of them.
Isn't that cumbersome?
How
many are your students?
It's
Are they just 100?
No, we have about 2,000.
Of course, I'm asking because if you have to attend to.
No, it's a job we have taken.
Okay, then.
It's a job we have taken, and that is why we are different from public universities. In a typical public university, and don't forget, ours is fully residential. All our students live on campus. Unlike a typical public university, maybe of 15,000 student population, and only 5,000 live on campus. The remaining 10,000 live outside the campus. Some of them even practice, how do I put it now, boy and girl.
Cohabitation.
Cohabitation. That's the right word. Cohabitation. While they are still in school. That is why you still have sanity and discipline in the private university.
Okay, talking about sanity and discipline in the private institutions, there are a lot of stringent rules that students in private universities follow that sometimes almost make them look like boarding house pupils of secondary schools because their life is being regulated sort of at some point. And here we are talking about formation of independent mindset. Will that not affect them? Because after their 4 years stay in your institution, they're going to face the larger world there. How do they survive?
Yeah, see, I can answer that question by saying, don't forget, we started with this issue of some of them being teenagers, not up to that level to be the university system, and they are there. This is the more reason we have to look after them. It's not that we are regimenting their lives. We are only playing the role of in loco parentis in their lives.
For instance, the girls don't cook. Or want to go out, they
in the look, let me tell you, again, that is part of the problems in our public university system, where most of them live outside and they can do anything. That is why you find them engaging in Yahoo and all the rest, Yahoo Plus and all of that, betting and so on. But in our own situation, students are on campus. Like I said, they are in local penalties. You want to go out, a 60-year-old, 70-year-old, oh, I want to go home. Okay, yes, you apply for SCAT. We won't deny you. Once there is a genuine proof that indeed you are going home, we take a step of faith and go further and even call their parents.
A step of faith?
Yes, in fact, because we must be careful because they are under our guidance. So if they just leave the campus and God forbid something happens, the matter will be
cross-checking.
Yeah, we cross-check. So this is very good. That is one thing that the private universities are doing very well, which I love as a person, and I wish the public universities could take a cue.
Mr. Adegbere, let's look at some of the challenges that have been identified with private universities. First, the issue of staffing now, personnel. Many are of the view that these public universities you're talking about that says they have this challenge and all of that, you inherit, or maybe you rent, so to say, lecturers therefrom to cater for your own students. Maybe they will say they're on sabbatical, or then they are on leave, or part-time, or adjunct, visiting. So, isn't that a huge challenge? How then do we ascertain the quality of education for these students? It's also said that the private university student does not fail because they are paid so much.
Well, I don't know about that because that one doesn't happen at the university where I work. I can speak for this university. I cannot speak for other universities. But one thing,
Nigerian, and you have heard this too.
Well, I've had this. Okay. So I must confess.
You should.
But the issue is that once you come to the university, you are saying something during the newspaper review, talking about degrees being awarded to students who have satisfied the university, both in character and in learning. Character is the first one. Then learning follows. But in the university, if you are not good academically, you are not good. Nobody is going to pass you up, and that is why we keep advising some of them to withdraw from university. I mean, in the university system, it's also said you are advised to withdraw, even though it's an advice.
We have no choice.
But you have to carry it out. It's another in a way. But that is our own language in the university system. So we don't condone that. And once you see a student, a graduate of a university, who says, "Oh, I made the first class," be rest assured that that person really made a first class. And by the time you listen to him speak, or you listen to her speak, you know, yeah, this is a first class material. And we have so many of our alumni who are doing fantastically well today. Let me tell you this, because we are here in Ondo State, this is Osrc. The present chief of staff to the governor of Ondo State is an alumnus of Edison University. He studied law. He graduated about 2 years ago and is doing well. If it's not somebody that has this knowledge upstairs, do you think the governor will appoint him as chief of staff? I don't think so. I don't believe so. And let me also tell you, now we have the nursing program in our university, where we teach nursing students and so on. Again, it's not about your internal exams alone. That does not even really tell who you are. Now, our students went for the council examination, that's the professional examination, because all we can award them the university is degree in nursing. But for you to practice as a nurse, you must have what you call RN. There's some RN, that's for midwifery. Then for even there's another one, so many of them. Now, our students went for the first exam. we made 100%.
Okay, then, so they perform very well.
Very well.
The question then is, where do you source personnel teaching these students?
Beautiful.
Are they inherited or borrowed from public universities? What exactly is your mode
I would say
recruiting?
Many of our lecturers, in fact, majority of them that we recruited are full-time. Full-time with us. I can tell you that without any hesitation. They are full-time. But we have a few adjunct lecturers. We call them adjunct or visiting. These are ones who come maybe once in a week, teach their courses, go back, and we pay them on a semester basis. It's not that they are doing it for free. We have a few of them from OAU, from FUTA, but there is no university that can boast of having all the academic staff in Nigeria, not even UI. Not even UI. In fact, as a result of this major problem confronting the university system, University of Ibadan, about 4 years ago, came up with this idea that, look, we want to be more of a postgraduate university. That's why UI now defaults 60% of admission for postgraduate and 40% undergraduate. So in other words, UI is training more of postgraduate students now because UI suddenly realized, being the premier university, established in 1948, that many more universities have been established. How do these universities get the personnel, especially the academic staff? And we have a few retired professors who are with us. In fact, there's one professor, Joseph Ademola Fabayo, with us. A renowned professor of economics who was trained by Chief Sam Maluko. And this man, everywhere you mention his name in OAU, the name rings a bell. So we have a few of them like that with us at the university who are doing very well. And one other thing that is also helping us to attract this quality staff is the fact that we don't joke with salary. We don't owe salary. 28th of every month at the latest, salaries are paid.
Okay. All right, we were talking about the other time you mentioned the numbers of universities in Nigeria, and the private schools are running to 100 plus 149 to be precise. So the proliferation of private schools in Nigeria, how has it helped the education system, for instance?
Well, let me say here that without being immodest, the National Universities Commission needs to watch it. It's not everybody that applies to establish a private university that should be given license to. Some of them don't even know what they are going into until they are there. It's a lot of capital investment. It's a lot of money. If you want to do it really good. But if you don't want wishy-washy mushroom university, we're fine. But then will tell you, okay, you want to establish a private university, you must have a minimum of 200 million naira in one special account. What is 200 million naira? That is not even enough to pay 1 month's salary in a good private university. So this is the problem. So I think the National Universities Commission, that is the regulatory body. That is the body that gives licenses to private universities. They must be on the lookout.
Mr. Adegunero, let's come a bit to what exactly affects the students. Most times you find that after graduation, the things you went to study in school have little or no relevance to societal needs. And that is why you find some people studied this particular course and then they are in this and other thing, not relevant to whatever it is they're doing. Let me know, how practical is the curriculum of Elizabeth University, by extension private universities, and even indeed the general university community? I'm asking this because by God's grace we had interface with students who come for internship here, and you find it's a very wide disconnect between what they do or what they were taught in school and the reality of the industry. How well do you think this gap will be bridged?
Well, as a university we are different, and that is where entrepreneurship comes in. For every of our students in the university, you must take 1 or 2 courses in entrepreneurship. And the application of what you studied is what matters. Not that you just go to the university, you are studying microbiology, everything is in your head, and you are mentioning all the jargons in this world and so on. Let me give you an example. When we had the maiden convocation ceremony in 2017, we produced a first-class graduate in business administration. That lady, her name is Gift Silence. Now, a first-class graduate, the very first graduate, first-class graduate that we produced in that university. Today, the girl is into fashion business in Abuja. Not only in Abuja, he has established branches in 2 West African countries. He makes my dresses now, including the one I'm putting on. Our turnover, the last time we met, I don't want to mention that in here, is in millions of naira. But she studied business administration. But what she's doing now is application of business administration to what she's currently doing. Other one got a seed money.
Of course, if you permit me, that point is well made. But let me bring you back to this line of conversation. For instance, Shadi is studying maybe computer science. There must be the practicality of computer science. Yeah. The in and outs, the nitty-gritty of computer science. Is it computer engineering and all those other issues? Working with real computer, not the one you just show us and all of those things. Or somebody is studying nursing, it must have the practicality of nursing. Somebody studying mass communication was exposed to the practicality of broadcasting, print, and all of that. So how well are we going into that? I understand the point you're making, but let's look at the practicality of the different courses we're offering in the universities.
I think I get your point now. Again, I will talk about something which they call the theory of practical in university system these days. I remember a story was told. I will not mention the name of that university. In the department of chemistry, they needed about 35 million naira to buy reagents and all the rest. But the physics could only afford 7 million. And instead of about 7 practicals that they were to have, they had only 2. And the other 5 were theories of practicals. You see, if it's not practical, it's not practical. Let me also give you another example. When I was in Futa, we had a youth corps member posted to the office of the Vice Chancellor. And when he appeared before the Vice Chancellor was so happy. This happened in 2003, 2004. Oh, you study computer? Oh, beautiful. You'll be in my office. Let's give you a computer system. So that, and the boy answered and said, sir, I've never worked on the computer before. I agree with you. It's as bad as that. But in Elizabeth University, I will invite you to, we have mass communication. You know, I'm also a mass communication person. Visit our radio studio, our television studio. In fact, I can tell you, our television studio is better than what I'm seeing here. Now, visit our nursing labs. They are the best you can find in Ondo State. In fact, when the nursing council came for accreditation sometime last year, and they got to the first lab, their zonal coordinator, who is based in the kitty, the moment they enter, because I was with the team, they didn't spend 1 minute. He said, please, let's go. What else are we looking for? Let's go. What else are we looking for? That's the nursing lab. Now, not only that, go to our library. The only laboratory.
Well, all of those things procured for the accreditation purpose, or they are
no, they are there. The only laboratory law has is the library. Go there. Look, the DG of law school led the accreditation team. He got to our law library. He was dazed. He was busy taking pictures. And when he went back to Abuja, and some people came to him to say, oh, we want to start law faculty. He said, if you want to start, go to Elizabeth first. Go and study what is there. And come back to tell me if you are ready to do what Elizabeth has done.
Okay.
So in other words, students are exposed to practicals.
All right, you mentioned the nursing now and the nursing labs, but Elizabeth is here to have a teaching hospital and all that. What about the interface with a real patient? patients and not just
Thank you,
labs.
thank you. As we speak here, we don't have a teaching hospital, but we have affiliation with some teaching hospitals around. The one in Ife, OAU Teaching Hospital, as I speak to you, our 300 nursing students are in Ife, and they are going to be there for 12 weeks. 200 level students are in Ondo, that is a Unimed Teaching Hospital. They are going to be there. In fact, we have to take a whole hostel for them, and we pay for 1 year. They are there. Now, the ones in, I think at 400 level, they go to Akure. Here, that Unimed Teaching Hospital in Akure, they go there every day. I'm sure you must have been seeing our buses plying the road. Because we felt the campus is very close to Akure, so we don't have to keep them in Akure. So they can be going from the campus every day. That is how far we have gone. Making sure that we expose them to practicals. And they are not training with mannequins. They are touching human beings. You know, some of them are on night duty now. And that is good for you. I mean, let's expose them. If we didn't do that, my brother and sister, the first set of nursing students, 23 of them went for the provisional exam and had 100%. If they didn't have good training, they would not have made that kind of.
Before I let you go, Mr. Adegbero, how do you think we could check this problem of brain drain in the education sector? Especially, you talked about remuneration the other time, but for me, it's beyond remuneration. How well do you think we could check brain drain in the university system?
It's not only the university system, it's in Nigeria. I'm sure if you have the opportunity of Japan tomorrow, you'll probably do that. Even my sister here. I think the Nigerian economy has to be looked into critically. The present government must do something. You see, the rate of inflation has affected everybody in this country. It's not about the academia alone. I'm talking about everybody now. For example, if a professor is on 450,000 naira a month, and that professor can find another job in the UK, where we paid about £2,000 in a month. £2,000 multiplied by about 2,000, maybe 500 naira now. That's a lot of money. Although it's often said that many of them, when they are paid, the money goes to social services, water, electricity, all the rest of. Like I was watching a video clip by one popular comedian in Ekiti, who said a room in London cost as much as £1,050. That was going back to Nigeria, that Nigeria is still better. I looked at that thing and I laughed. I said, well, this guy may appear to be a comedian, but it's making some sense. It's making some sense. So whatever government can do to uplift the standard of an average worker in Nigeria should be done. I mean, I'm not going to be selfish by saying, oh, let's limit it to the university system alone.
Mr. Modola Adegbero is the registrar at Elizabeth University, a veteran journalist, a public relations expert, and a university administrator. Of course, we've been talking about the age requirement for admission in the university system in Nigeria. Of course, we touched on sundry other issues, and it's been an engaging engagement, I must say. Thank you so much, Mr. Adegbero, for coming on the
Thank
program.
you so much for having me again. Thank you.
Everyone, it's been an interesting conversation this morning, especially looking at the Ivory Tower and how well it's impacted societal development. We thank you so much for being a part of it. From my colleague, Fola Shade Ogido.
And yes, as I said, it's been an